everybody, Mackenzie here from TerreDice Games, and today we have a very special interview for you. So about a month ago on Earth Day, we were able to sit down and do an interview with Panda Game Manufacturing, which is responsible for making games like Pandemic, Unmatched, Root, all of the Stonemeyers, Bark Avenue. They're a fantastic company, and we were able to sit down with them and talk about what options are there for making games more green or more sustainable? Because let's be honest, games are not probably the most sustainable or most environmentally friendly hobby you can choose. But they were able to speak to us about things that we can do or the industry can do to help make games more green. So please enjoy. So if you guys want to each introduce yourselves, we can start with Steven about who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Wren. I live in Oregon in the United States, and I am a senior project manager for Panda.
Yeah, and you were also our project manager for Bark Avenue, Oregon, which was very helpful.
Some small amount responsible for the beautiful Bark Avenue game.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we entrusted our squishy boobs in you, so.
Yeah, I'm Shannon Lentz. I'm also a senior project manager at Panda Games. I mainly work with Stonemaier Games and a couple other smaller publishers. I'm also a member of the Green Game Guides project.
Awesome, which we are definitely going to be hearing more about. What options that do you use to educate companies to make games more sustainable?
I guess some of the offerings that we give to our clients, some of them have come out recently and they're more newer, and you'll see them in some games, like some Stonemaier games. Using pulp paper trays instead of plastic trays is one thing that we started to offer. And our factory is also now FSC certified for both paper and its wood. We're just started doing paper wrapped cards instead of shrink wrapped. So none of those have hit the market yet, but you'll start to see them in especially Stonemaier games, as far as I know.
Okay, yeah. And I know we talked about FSC certified when we were talking about Bark Avenue. I know that there's a logo on the back of the box. What does it actually mean? Like, if I'm a consumer in a store looking at the back of a box and I see FSC certified, what does that actually mean?
FSC, so it's the Forward Stewardship Council. So all the wood and paper that we buy that is FSC certified, it means that it's been grown in a sustainable way, and all the labor practices are decent, and no one's being exploited. And this that the forest will be around for generations to come. So it's just a way to track sustainability in terms of the actual forestry.
What is currently your favorite way that you've seen Panda take steps in being more sustainable?
I can speak to some of those. Obviously, the push to have FSC certification for all woods and paper products, cardboard, gray board, is a major step in the right direction. We have machines for paper wrapping the cards. We are looking into getting machines for wrapping boxes, although we have done some less automated box wrapping. For example, Canopy was done in that way. If there's more demand, we're really happy to push in that direction. There has also been a major effort through Stonemaier in particular, but through some other publishers as well, to find green options for the plastic bags that store components in games. So looking into different biodegradable or recyclable options, ones that are not going to sacrifice too much of the usability to achieve the environmental goal.
Cool. So that's like those like semi-opaque, like kind of like white plastic bags that we see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
But to be honest, we've actually stopped using those for Stonemaier games. It always comes down to customers. So customers say these bags, they're not as durable as regular PE plastic bags, and that's kind of like the nature of the product, right? It's not going to be as durable, and they do start to break down within a couple of years. So we're actually moved away from like the extra plastic bags that you get in board games for Stonemaier. They're gone back to regular plastic, but we still use the biodegradable plastic for like the single-use plastic bags, like plastic rivets, like the plastic bag dose comes in, because you just rip the bag open, you take your plastic rivets, and you make your dials or whatever, like in Scythe, say. So now we're still using biodegradable plastic there, but not for the extra plastic bags that games come with.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of like that balance of how do you maintain the quality that they'll expect? You know, they don't want their Ziploc to break on the like fourth use
Yeah.
versus like how do we use like the most sustainable components and figuring out what the right balance is there.
Yeah, that was a big question over like quality versus like sustainability and
Hmm.
environmentalness. What is so for the average board game lover, what are ways that we in the board game industry or need to like help shift people's mindsets on what they think a game is supposed to look like?
Yeah, I'll answer this first. That's a tough question because in the end it does come up to the game buyer, right? The players.
Hmm.
Board games are a luxury item, so people pay a lot of money for them, and they want to make sure that they get high quality games with nice components and stuff like that. But really, in my own opinion, it comes down to a few things. One of them is don't sleeve your cards. Like you're adding tons of plastic to your board game that's not necessary. And I think from at least what I've seen, a lot of people will sleeve a game and they play that game what 5 times before maybe trading it or selling it. Like, are the cards really going to get that scuffed and destroyed just from playing it a few times with other hobby gamers? I don't think so. Also, we've looked at like using plastic wafer stickers instead of shrink wrap on the boxes, and you see that a lot with the Ravensburger games.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of
Hmm.
customers get upset if there's a scuff on their box, right? Or the box is in perfect condition, especially if we don't laminate the
Yeah.
box, right? Which makes it also more sustainable. So
Yeah. I think my problem is getting the sticky residue off. It's like sometimes it's so hard if I peel it
why
wrong or
not just cut
something.
the sticker then? Like leave the sticker on the box.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But I
Yeah.
think people have these certain
Yeah, that just kind of be
expectations that
okay.
they have to accept if they want to have a board game that is more sustainable.
Yeah. That's an interesting point about the sleeves because actually where I hear it the most is like, oh, that game has terrible quality cards. You should use sleeves with that game because like they're gonna get ruined. Is like the comment I'll hear from the sometimes sleevers. And so I wonder if like part of this is like if we believe that this is going to be a game people want to have on their shelves for a long period of time and we believe that we're producing something really good, maybe we should use the like thicker cardstock to ensure that it like actually will last and that it actually wouldn't need as much plastic maybe in the long run. I don't know where the trade-off is there, but it's kind of a curious
Yeah, I don't know. I
thought.
think it's kind of like I don't even know if that's really true, right? Like I know that when we make
Hmm.
plastic inserts, we always have to accommodate for plastic sleeves, right? For sleeved cards, which leads to a bigger box as well, which in turn is not the most sustainable thing, right? But the card stock we use, like a nice 310 Ivory Core, that's a good card, and I see people sleeving those all the time. So
Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
that's
Yeah.
It's
true.
just a mentality, I guess.
I would say there also needs to be a little bit more of a shift, both with publishers and with customers as it relates to game
Mm.
expansions. So the packaging that expansions come in typically is not something that is kept. Is oftentimes thrown. If
Yeah.
the initial
Hmm.
boxes are not the right size, obviously publishers can consider that ahead of time. Sometimes they don't know what kind of hit they're going to get, and they're going to have to release expansions because that's what their fans are demanding. Um, but if that's the case, a better storage solution or some way that those components can be packed so that can be recycled or thrown away.
Yeah,
So
that makes
Shannon was
sense.
talking about not having a plastic tray instead having a paper pulp tray. Maybe that's the
Yeah.
place for the biodegradable plastic bags, things like that.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about like the latest Tapestry
Yeah.
expansion that like just came in an envelope. That was
Hmm.
the craziest thing when I got that in the mail because it was a preview copy, so I didn't know what to expect. But when I saw it, I was like, "Whoa!
It was
I
really
hope I
cool.
see this more because this was so incredible." It's like literally all I was gonna do is take that paper and put it in my base
Totally.
box.
Yeah.
So to see it come in an envelope like kind of blew my mind, but that was pretty
Plus, that's
exciting.
good for shipping. It's small, it doesn't weigh much, right? You
Yeah,
can just throw it into an envelope
Absolutely.
itself.
very true.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You get to go all the way to the carbon emissions and
Yeah,
everything too.
yeah.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is like even if the base box uses a plastic insert, if I know it's going in it, it'd be great if like you used a cardboard tray for like the components and the expansion or something. There's always that challenge of like it has to be big enough to have shelf presence and like show up in a store as opposed to being this thing you miss because it's like the size of like a Magic Treehouse book. But it's
Yeah.
That's funny how you chose Magic Treehouse of all the books.
I know.
Yeah.
I was
I have read those
I'm
books.
a
I have
dad.
four-year-olds.
flashback for a child that can't read. So going back to like publisher consumer, I want to talk about the green games guide. And then Shannon, can you explain what that is and how people can use it?
Sure. So the Green Games Guide was written by publishers, designers, manufacturers, and players of games. And it was our goal to make the tabletop game industry more sustainable. So it's, on the board, it's myself, but there's also lots of designers, publishers, quite a diverse crowd of people kind of, designing the guide and making suggestions to it.
Now, is this something, I mean, I've seen it. So is this like, are you trying to get, who are you
Okay,
targeting?
the
to
target
kind of
is
read?
board game publishers. Because in the guide we talk about you have your best option for a certain material, but also like your best practice, and then you have like lesser choices, right? And then you have your worst choice for a game material. So we try to give options and the science behind why we are giving these suggestions, right? And some of them are pretty tough, right? Like a lot of popular games are not going to make these right choices in terms of sustainability, right? Like not using plastic, using less amount of components in your game as well, right? Choosing better materials, like don't laminate your box, FSC, recycled materials, package mindfully. So yeah, smaller boxes, less wasteful packaging, less plastic, right? But what are the top games on Kickstarter or any kind of crowdfunding? There are lots of plastic miniatures, right? But you can get creative with wood and with cardboard. Like I don't know, like I've been gaming for over 20 years now, and in the early thousands, all the games were just chits and wooden meeples and stuff, right?
Because how does making it products more green affect the overall price of that product?
Yeah, sometimes it does affect the price. With FSC certified products, there really isn't a price difference. But if we're paper wrapping cards, there's going to be a small price difference, but it's pretty minimal, right? You're talking like, depending on the game, right? Like how many cards, but anywhere from 15 to, I don't know, I'm just ballparking, 15 to 25 cents a unit cost difference, right? For using paper wrapped cards. If you're using wafer stickers and not laminating your box and not shrink wrapping it, you probably even have a savings. So it all depends, right? And plus, especially if you're reducing your plastics, right? Well, you're just saving money there because the tooling for custom plastics is a lot, right? But the components themselves for plastic are cheap. It's the tooling that's expensive, right? But with wood, there's no tooling, and wood itself is not that expensive. So you don't have. I feel like it's more. Your games aren't going to cost more, but you're going to have to make certain sacrifices in terms to like customized plastics and stuff like that. I don't know.
Sometimes the FSC certified materials are identical in price. Sometimes they are, from what we've seen recently, a little bit more expensive. I've had a few instances where it is a material that needs to be ordered ahead of time because it's not part of the bulk shipments that we get of these materials from our suppliers.
That was the lead time was the main thing we talked about when we were talking about
It
the
was,
FSC.
yeah, and I think we were planning to go ahead with more of these green initiatives for the game, and then the timeline just didn't work out. But yeah, having a little bit more of a head start on that so that we can contact our suppliers and get these materials ahead of time is important. The other note is the paper pulp trays that we have talked about. There's a pretty complicated process to actually produce them, and so the upfront like one-time tooling costs as well as the per unit costs are typically comparable or higher than plastic trays. So it's sometimes difficult to want to make that shift, especially because you
Okay.
can't get quite as intricate of details on paper pulp trays as you can, especially the aluminum mold for plastic trays.
Yeah, I'm thinking about an
But
unmatched where it's like got the character's name written on the tray, like those types of things, probably, right?
you can actually get some of that. You can combine the paper pulp. I forget the actual wood that's used for it, but you can combine it with a bamboo pulp, and you can get something that's quite detailed to the point that you can get those embossed or debossed
Oh,
letters
interesting.
and things like
Yeah,
that. But shapes that are specific to miniatures, yeah, not going to happen with.
that makes sense. Okay, yeah. I did quite like the paper trays that were in the Wingspan Asia expansion. I like
Is
those a
that
lot,
like
actually.
the
They're
little
pretty
tiny
nice.
ones? Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
little
those are
tiny,
cool.
like,
Yeah.
thin paper trays. I
We
like
also
those
made
ones.
like the card tray for like to replace the plastic one in Wingspan base game, and in
Oh,
Europe. But we're going.
Yeah.
Stonemaier decided to go back to plastic just because.
People
mm,
didn't
Okay.
like it as much, I
Well,
guess.
and like some like some other partners in different countries were like when they received the game, it's like, whoa, this looks like a counterfeit copy, right? Like, what's with this? Where's the plastic
Oh,
tray,
it's
right?
oh,
It's a
interesting.
perception
interesting.
of quality, even though the trays themselves cost more than the plastic trays, right?
Yeah, it goes back to like the mindset of what like your expectations of what you think it's supposed to look
Yeah,
like.
totally.
Yeah.
Could you guys speak on like the treatment of the workers that are actually putting these games together at the Panda facilities?
We've taken great steps to ensure that all of our staff at the factory that Panda owns in China are well taken care of. We have had several audits. Disney did a certification audit recently, checked all uh, the qualities of the factory and signed off on that. All of the project managers, as well as our marketing team, our pre-press specialists, all visit the factory. We're all actually taking a trip this year to make sure that everyone has had a chance to visit it most recently. And you can see for yourself the quality of this factory compared to others. We have many publisher clients who visit the factory. Actually, this week I think we had
Yeah.
three. And they always leave saying the same thing, which is, this is the cleanest factory I've ever seen. The lighting conditions, the organization of materials on the factory floor so that there's no possibility for injury, the investment in automated machinery to avoid that hazard, the air quality, the offerings of food to the staff are all top of the line. I know that I'm biased being an employee of Panda, but I was just exceptionally impressed, especially when we went to visit some other factories and just thought, this is, it is night and day. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that you got the Panda has like historically great working facilities. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to make sure our game was made through you guys because that
Yeah.
was really important to us.
I think it shows too, like whenever we were going through the design and development process for Bark Avenue, anytime we'd like want to inject like a human component, it's like, could these be pre-punched? It's like all of a sudden prices were like jacking up and we're like, what's going on? And you're like, well, now you have a human doing something. And it's like, oh, okay. That's, so it kind of reflects too in the process of like how we work together.
Sure. And there are certainly some of those steps that they have to have that human element, like some of the quality control. We have some really good machines that do color and quality control checks automatically, but there's no replacement for that human element of checking. A lot of the assembly is done. Most of the assembly is done by staff workers, or pardon me, factory workers. But those assembly lines are rotated. There are always a set number of units that are present there, so they know when to do switches. It's definitely managed very, very well.
I think really it comes down to the customer. the person who's buying the board game. They're the ones who dictate what is being made. So if they want games to not be shrink wrapped, or they want games without lots of plastic components, the board game publishers will listen to that and they'll deliver what is wanted, right? Whatever is being funded on crowdfunding, whatever is the big sellers, that's what's driving the types of games that we play and are being made. So if you have games that have like, I'm sorry, but a Castles of Burgundy that's $150, $200 full of plastic, when the cardboard version is like perfect, it's fun, it's being funded. So that's what's, if you want to see a change in industry, then drive it with your wallet.
I think that's a really good point. There are, even in addition to a lot of the options that we discussed, there are standard practices within Panda to ensure that there's a level of sustainability in the materials we use. We have water and soy-based inks as opposed to petroleum-based inks. Our gray board, the cardboard layer in boxes, game boards, and things like that is always 50 to 100% recycled material. It's those additional steps, whether or not the gamers want publishers to ask their manufacturers to invest in paper box wrapping or more sustainable options for trays. Those are really the things that can make the difference. And we are more than happy, thrilled to follow whatever that demand is, but to invest in the machinery and have it not used is not a sustainable practice, environmentally or economically. So we do need that support. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for coming on. This was very informative. But please leave any questions you have down below, and I can reach out to them with any specific questions you have. And yeah, if this is a topic you guys are passionate about, like Shannon said, like, show it with your wallet. Like, if this is what you want, we need to like tell people. And just, I think more so than that, just think more about when you're buying those games and getting those extra plastic baggies if you really need that. I think it's all about just mindfulness and like going that extra mile just to think about what you're doing. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.